What is it? You attract more something with something? It's honey. What is it? You get more, what is it?
Flies with honey.
Catch more flies with honey? Is that what it, right? Well, I'm waiting. Hey everyone, I'm Claire Saffitz. I am here in the Munchies Test Kitchen and I'm gonna show you a recipe from my new cookbook, Dessert Person. It is for pigs in a brioche blanket. It is the ultimate party snack food. So the first step in the recipe is to make brioche dough. Brioche is a super eggy, really rich sort of bread. I think it actually sounds harder than it is. It's pretty straightforward, so I'm gonna show you how to make it. This is hot. The first step is to proof the yeast. So this recipe and all the recipes in the book that are yeasted use active dry yeast. It's the most common form. And active dry yeast has to be dissolved and what's called proofed, so you know that the yeast is alive. So that just means dissolving it in a warm liquid, 2 tablespoons milk. So you don't want the milk to be too hot because that will kill the yeast. So you want it like bath water temperature basically. And then I'm just stirring with a fork to get everything dissolved. Active dry yeast actually has, the granules have a dehydrated coating on the outside and that's why you have to dissolve it and that activates the yeast. And like a lot of times pastry chefs or experienced home bakers skip this step because they know that the yeast that they, oh there it is. Oh wait, no that's something else. What the hell is that? Wait, what is that? Is that a mosquito? Like if you have a jar of yeast at home and you've used it a lot, you know that it's alive, it's well before the expiration date, you can skip this step, and often I do. But if you're not experienced with yeast or you have like a questionable packet that's been in your fridge for a while, go ahead and make sure you proof it. I'm gonna let that proof. I have my other brioche ingredients. This is a stick of butter, 8 tablespoons, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a little sugar, kosher salt, and then I'm gonna mix all this together. So now I'm gonna crack my 3 large eggs. So that goes into the center of the bowl. And let's look at my yeast. I'm sure it's fine. I think it's fine. All right, so that goes in. What you would be looking for is like lots of little puffed growths in the middle of the bowl. And that's if you did like a thorough job of dissolving everything. So I added all the ingredients in here except for the butter. That comes later. First, we need to bring the dough together. All right, so I have the dough hook on here. Sometimes when I get jealous when I watch the mixer and I just like want to get in there. Okay, so that's coming together. So brioche dough has a really high proportion of butter that's added to it, and the butter is kind of emulsified into the dough. So it's important to bring everything together because we want to develop gluten, those stretchy strands that form when you combine wheat flour and water. And we want that to be well developed so that when we work the butter in, you still have that kind of pull apart bready texture, and it's just enriched and flavored by all the butter. So that means really giving this a chance to work and develop before we add that in. The butter should be room temperature, and that will help it incorporate easily into the dough. And you don't want it melted because you don't want it to be too warm. So this is a really nice temperature. It's like there's a waxiness to it. It's soft and very malleable, but not shiny looking. So I know it's not too warm. I think I'm gonna let this go a little longer, but I'll show you what it looks like. So it's really starting to smooth out. You want a dough that's really supple, almost silky looking. See, you get jealous of the mixer. All right, I'm gonna put this on like medium low, and I'm gonna start to add the butter. And I'm gonna add a piece at a time. So this is where you also wanna take your time. You don't wanna overwhelm the dough with too much butter. So let it kind of slowly absorb and incorporate that butter. So I'm just gonna go to kind of throw the pieces into the mixer. So like I'm letting this go. The butter is still kind of taking its time. And as you go piece by piece and it absorbs more and more of the butter, the dough will soften and slacken a little bit, so actually it gets easier the further along you get. All right, so I can see that it's absorbed most of that first piece. I'm gonna add my second piece. I have 3 tablespoons left, I've added 5. After this piece, I'm gonna take a chance to scrape down the sides. All right. Let's scrape. You guys, there's the fly. But I just hit it and no, oh, no, oh, wait. Damn it. Where'd it go?
It's gone. He'll come back. All the way.
Rude. All right, back to the brioche. All right, so you can see it's much softer. So I'm gonna let this go. And basically I wanna get back to the point where it's pulling away from the sides again. And so here we are again, it's gathered around the hook. You know it's ready when there's no butter residue around the bowl. The dough is totally pulling away from the sides. The bowl will be totally clean. It might stick a little bit at the very bottom, that's fine. But you'll have an extremely soft, supple, beautiful dough. And that's what we want. All right, so I'm gonna give the sides a scrape. But we are getting there. You can see that nice stretchiness. Give this a scrape. So this will take another minute or so. I think we're good. So here's our brioche. Still firm enough to form into a ball. And you can see it's not sticky, like it's really soft, but it's not sticking to my hand, so that's a good sign. It just looks really lovely and beautiful. So I'm going to butter this bowl. This recipe uses active dry yeast, so it has 2 rises. So this is gonna go into the bowl for the first rise, and I'm gonna cover it. You could use a damp kitchen towel or a piece of plastic. And then when the rise is done, it's like between 8 and 12 hours, then we're gonna form our pigs in a blanket. Okay, so I'm gonna prep the hot dogs for the pigs in a blanket. You can really use any kind of hot dog. You can use like the humblest, like, you know, ballpark hot dog, or like the fanciest sort of artisanal hot dog, anything, as long as they're kind of all about the same weight. So I'm poking holes actually because the hot dogs have a casing and they will explode if you don't poke holes. So, but anyway, so I just think that there's broad consensus around the idea that the ultimate and best party food is pigs in a blanket. Like, I don't care like what kind of party you're having, whether it's super fancy or just like hanging out with friends, like there's no occasion where I don't want to eat pigs in a blanket. Basically, it's the perfect snack in every way. Okay, so I coated all the hot dogs in a little flour, and that just helps to adhere the brioche to the hot dog so you don't get any like gaps or air pockets. So these are prepped. I'm gonna set them right here. And now I'm gonna grab the cold brioche and show you how to form them. So this had its first rise. You can see it expanded quite a bit in size, almost doubled. I'm gonna cut this in half and then quarters and then eighths. I'm gonna roll each piece of brioche into a 2-foot long snake. And that seems really long, but that is kind of the length that you need to wrap all the way around the hot dog. So I'm gonna take a hot dog, 1 piece at a time. And starting from the center of the hot dog and the center of the brioche, I'm gonna start to wrap the brioche around the hot dog, slightly overlapping. So once you do one end, you're gonna go back around the other end. And basically, you should have the right amount of dough to fully cover your hot dog like this. And then at the ends, I'm just kind of pinching and sealing it in. And you have your beautiful little cozy, snug hot dog in a brioche blanket. These are ready for their second rise. These will rise much more quickly than the first rise, and they're just gonna be at room temperature, so I'm gonna check them. It's a little cold in here, so these might take like between 30 minutes and an hour. While the hot dogs are proofing, I'm going to put together a dipping sauce. It's very easy, it's just stirred together. I have spicy mustard here. It's just gonna go in this bowl. And then I'm mixing it with just a little sour cream for balance, a little honey, and then a little cayenne for heat. So there we go. I'm going to taste it, see if it needs salt. It does. So that's our dipping sauce for pigs in a blanket. These have been hanging out in kind of a warm spot. So the brioche has started to puff. You can really see there's more definition in the spiral. And there's a test I call the poke test for when you know that everything is proofed. So basically you take a finger and just give it like a little press on the surface of the dough, and it should basically spring back and leave only a very slight indentation. So my oven is on 350 and I have my egg wash, and just to create a really shiny golden surface, I'm gonna brush these lightly with egg. And you wanna coat every surface, but also like don't be too generous, and because you don't want the egg wash to pool significantly around the hot dogs. otherwise it kind of burns a little. So now I have some sesame seeds here, and I just like the look of the sesame seeds on top, plus the little flavor and crunch that it gives. Also, for a little enhanced flavor, just a bit of kosher salt on top. Okay, these are ready to go into the oven. These will bake for 25 to 30 minutes. And the hot dogs themselves are obviously already cooked, so I'm just looking for a really beautiful golden brown exterior on the brioche. So after 25 minutes, I know they're done because I can smell them. So I'm gonna pull them out. Now these just need to cool for like 15 minutes or so before I slice them, because I just don't want the juices from the hot dog to run all over the place and get it soggy. So these will rest for a little bit, and then we will slice and plate them. These have been sitting, they're warm but not hot, so the tray is cool. So I'm gonna slice them and show you what they look like. So I might just trim off the very, very end where there was like an exposed bit of hot dogs that's kind of dry. And so with these, I cut them bite size. So like basically sort of 1 or 1.5 inch lengths. So you get sort of 6 out of each hot dog. I'll cut the little end off. All right, so here we go. Here is this beautiful platter, and now that creamy dipping sauce. This is a recipe that when I made it at home, I kept involuntarily going back and eating more and more, and then I would like catch myself doing it and be like, stop eating these. It's like everything I want to eat all in one bite. It's just delicious. Seriously. I just ate lunch and I'm not even hungry, but still want to eat these. So if you want this recipe, you can click the link below or check it out in my new cookbook, Dessert Person. Here's the problem with this thing. Because with a fly swatter, you can really slap it, you know?